The courtroom was eerily quiet as 5-year-old Emily Carter walked through the heavy wooden doors. Her small hand held the leash of Rex, a German shepherd with a long, rough scar on his side. Everyone in the room watched the little girl as she moved toward the witness stand. She was nervous, but determined. Judge Mark Sullivan, an experienced man-in-law, leaned forward slightly, studying the child carefully. He knew the whole case depended on her. Emily was the only witness to a kidnapping attempt. A case that could put a dangerous man in prison for life. But there was one big issue. Emily hadn't spoken a single word since the attack. Across the room, Richard Hale sat at the defense table, looking calm, even smug. A 45-year-old software engineer with an ordinary appearance, Hale had been arrested because someone claimed they saw him at the scene of Emily's kidnapping attempt. But his defense was strong. No physical proof, no confession, and a witness who couldn't speak. His lawyer planned to argue that the traumatized child couldn't identify him. Then, something unexpected happened. As Emily sat in the witness chair, her green eyes met Richard Hale's. Her small fingers trembled as she made a tiny movement, a silent signal she had learned in therapy. Only two in the room noticed. Rex and Judge Sullivan. Rex reacted instantly. The moment Emily's fingers moved, the dog's body stiffened. His ears shot up, his muscles tensed, and a deep warning growl came from his throat. His eyes locked on the Hale, unblinking and intense. The courtroom buzzed with whispers. This wasn't just a trained dog comforting his owner. This was something deeper, something instinctive. Judge Sullivan slammed his gavel. "This court will take a 15-minute recess," he said firmly, his voice urgent. The prosecutor, Jenna Collins, gave him a confused look, but he ignored her. Instead, he glanced at Emily, who clung to Rex like a lifeline. Something important had just happened, and he needed to figure out what before the trial continued. As the room emptied, Sullivan stayed seated, his mind racing. In all his years as a judge, he had never seen a therapy dog react with such certainty. What had Rex recognized, and what did it mean for the case? Outside, Emily knelt beside Rex, gripping his fur tightly. Her mother, Sarah Carter, bent down beside her, stroking her curly hair with shaky hands. "Sweetheart, are you okay?" she whispered. Emily didn't answer. She didn't need to. The way she held Rex said everything. Nearby, Jack Monroe, the lead FBI investigator, watched closely. A seasoned agent with sharp instincts, he knew something big had just happened. He walked up to Judge Sullivan. "That dog reacted for a reason," he muttered. "I'd bet my career he recognizes Hale from somewhere." Sullivan took a slow breath, his sharp eyes narrowing. "Then we need to find out where." Meanwhile, in the defense's private room, Richard Hale sat with his lawyer, Michael Graves. The moment they were alone, Hale's confident expression turned cold. His fingers tapped the table as he replayed what had happened. The girl hadn't spoken, but the dog had reacted. "She knows," he muttered under his breath. Graves raised an eyebrow. "What?" Hale forced a smile. "Nothing." But his mind was racing. That dog was a problem. Rex might be the key to ruining everything. As the recess ended, Judge Sullivan straightened his robes. He didn't believe in luck, and right now he was sure Rex had given them the most important clue of the trial. It was time to dig deeper. For the first time, he felt the case turning in their favor. But before the silence, before the courtroom, before the fear that stole her voice, Emily Carter had been a happy, talkative little girl. At 5 years old, she was full of stories, her blue eyes bright with curiosity. She loved fairy tales, stuffed animals, and her mother's silly voices during bedtime stories. She had never known real fear until that day. It had been a beautiful spring afternoon, the air sweet with flowers, the sun warm on the backyard. Sarah Carter had watched from the kitchen window as Emily spun in circles, her pink dress flaring around her. David Carter would be home soon, and Sarah had been deciding whether to start dinner or wait for him. It should have been a normal day. It should have been safe. At 3:42 p.m., Sarah's phone rang. Her sister was calling from out of state, so she stepped inside for what she thought would be a quick chat. 4 minutes. That was all it took. When she returned to the yard, the gate was open. A rush of fear froze her. Her breath caught as she searched the space where her daughter had been. Emily was still there, but she wasn't alone. A dark van waited near the sidewalk, its side door partly open. A man crouched next to Emily, his grin oddly friendly. "I have puppies in my van," he said, his voice smooth and rehearsed. "Special ones. They need a little girl to care for them. Want to see?" Sarah's world seemed to slow. Her gut screamed danger before her brain could understand. Her voice cut through the air. "Emily!" The man's head jerked up. His smile disappeared, replaced by a sharp, cold look. In a flash, he grabbed Emily's arm. Emily froze. She didn't scream. She didn't struggle. She just stared at him with wide, unblinking eyes, as if fear had trapped her in place. Across the street, Martha Jenkins, an older woman walking her small dog, saw everything. Her voice, rough with age but firm, shouted, "Hey, get away from that child." The man hesitated, his grip loosened for just a second, but that was enough. Emily pulled free and ran to her mother. Sarah wrapped her arms around her daughter as the van's engine roared. Tires screeched as the vehicle sped off, leaving black marks on the road. Sarah held Emily tight, her heart pounding. But Emily didn't cry. She didn't speak. She just buried her face in her mother's shoulder and shook. Police arrived fast. Detective Jack Monroe, an experienced FBI agent, took charge. His gray hair and sharp eyes showed years of hunting for missing kids, many never found. "He fits the pattern," Monroe muttered, flipping through his notebook. 4 kids gone in 18 months, all tricked with promises of puppies. His partner, Agent Lisa Grant, knelt by Emily. "Sweetie," she said gently, "can you tell me what the man looked like?" Silence. Sarah stroked Emily's hair, her hands trembling. "Honey, it's okay. You're safe now. Can you tell the officer what he looked like?" Emily gripped her mother's sweater but stayed silent. No words, no nods. It was like her voice had vanished. "She hasn't spoken since I grabbed her," Sarah whispered, fear in her voice. "She just won't talk." Agent Grant shared a look with Monroe. "Selective mutism," she said softly. "A reaction to trauma." Monroe rubbed his temple. "Without details, we've got little to go on. A man, a dark van. Could be anyone. Martha Jenkins, who had seen the whole thing, stepped forward. I caught part of the license plate, she said firmly. First three letters, YKZ. Monroe's eyes locked onto her. That's something. Sarah, still holding Emily, felt helpless. Her once bubbly daughter had shut down. Days passed, and things got worse. Emily stopped playing, stopped drawing. She wouldn't leave the house, jumping at every passing car. She barely slept, and when she did, nightmares shook her. Silent screams, thrashing under invisible threats. Sarah and her husband David tried everything. Books, treats, her favorite stuffed toy. Nothing worked. Their little girl was slipping away. One night, Sarah sat at the kitchen table, exhausted. The therapist suggested a support animal, she said quietly. A therapy dog? David ran a hand through his hair. You really think that'll help? I don't know, Sarah admitted, but I'll try anything. Neither knew how much the choice would change things because, even though Emily had lost her voice, someone could still hear her. His name was Rex. The air in Dr. Laura Bennett's animal rehab center smelled clean and faintly of fur. The room was quiet, except for the clocks ticking and the soft sound of claws on tile. On a large padded bed near the window lay a German shepherd. His dark brown eyes watched everything carefully. His name was Rex. Once he'd been one of the city's top police dogs, brave, smart, and trained to save lives, but now scars marked his body, especially one jagged line along his side. It was a reminder of the night that ended his career. 3 years ago, during a mission to rescue a kidnapped child, Rex had attacked an armed man without fear. The man had slashed him with a knife meant for an officer. Despite his wound, Rex had stopped the criminal. But his injury never fully healed. He couldn't move as well, and with tight budgets, the police retired him. He was put on a list to be put down, labeled useless. That's when Dr. Bennett stepped in. She ran a program pairing animals with trauma survivors. When she heard about Rex, she fought to save him. Sure, his sharp mind and loyalty still mattered. Now she was about to prove it. Sarah Carter sat nervously in a chair, clutching her skirt. Emily hid behind her mother, peeking out from under her arm. The little girl hadn't spoken since the attack 2 weeks ago. Even therapy hadn't brought back her voice. Laura bent down to Emily's height, speaking softly. Hi, Emily. I'm Laura. I work with special dogs. Dogs that help kids who've been scared. Emily stayed quiet, but her green eyes darted to the big German shepherd nearby. Rex sat still, ears up, watching but not moving. He seemed calm and safe. Would you like to meet him? Laura asked. Emily didn't answer, but she didn't run away either. That was something. Sarah stroked her daughter's hair. He's a good dog, sweetheart. He used to be a police dog like in your books. Laura signaled to Rex and said firmly, Stay. The dog didn't move a muscle. Laura turned back to Emily. You don't have to go near him yet. Rex will wait. But if you're ready, you can hold out your hand, and he'll come to you. Emily hesitated. For a long moment, she didn't move. Then, slowly, she stepped out from behind her mother. Her small hand lifted, shaky but determined. Rex stayed still, waiting. When Laura nodded, he lowered his head and took one careful step. Then another. The second his warm breath touched Emily's palm, something changed. Her fingers curled slightly, brushing his thick fur. Sarah gasped, covering her mouth with her hand. It was the first time Emily had touched anyone or anything since the attack. Tears filled her eyes. "Oh, baby," she whispered. Emily's fingers dug deeper into Rex's fur, clinging to him like he was the only safe thing left in the world. Laura smiled. "Good girl, Emily. Rex likes you." The child still didn't speak, but she didn't let go. Over the next few weeks, Rex and Emily became inseparable. At home, she sat beside him for hours, her small fingers tracing the scar on his side. When nightmares woke her, Rex's steady heartbeat calmed her. She still wouldn't talk, but she started drawing again, simple crayon pictures of a girl and a dog standing together against dark shadows. One afternoon in Laura's office, Emily watched Rex do a trick. Then, something amazing happened. "Good boy," she whispered. The words were so quiet Sarah almost missed them. But when she turned, she saw Emily staring at Rex, her lips parted in surprise, as if she hadn't expected to speak either. Tears welled in Sarah's eyes. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Laura touched Sarah's arm gently. "She trusts him. Sometimes trust is the first step to finding your voice again." Sarah squeezed her hand. "Then we'll follow that trust wherever it leads." And it would lead them somewhere unexpected, to a courtroom where a monster would finally be exposed. The air in the courtroom felt heavy. Every seat was packed. Reporters, families, and lawyers all waiting for one of the biggest trials in years. At the front, the accused man, Richard Hale, sat beside his lawyer. His face showed no emotion, even with serious charges against him. His fingers tapped lightly on the table. Next to her mother, Emily Carter held Rex's leash tightly. The German Shepherd sat alert beside her, ears forward, eyes locked on Hale. Every now and then, his nose twitched as if he recognized something. "All rise," the officer called. Judge Mark Sullivan walked in, his long robe swaying. He sat down, scanning the room before his gaze briefly stopped on Emily and Rex. He'd already agreed to let the therapy dog stay, but he knew not everyone liked that choice. "Before we begin opening statements," Sullivan spoke in his deep, steady voice, carefully controlling the courtroom, "the court would hear arguments about allowing the support animal in the proceedings." Michael Graves, the defense lawyer, stood up smoothly and adjusted his tie. "Your Honor," he began, polite but firm, "we understand the prosecution's reason for the emotional support animal, but having a large German Shepherd in court could unfairly sway the juries. Tell us what you think in the comments below. Did Emily and Rex's bond surprise you? Don't forget to like and subscribe to Black Struggles for more incredible stories, emotions. This might harm my client's case. We ask that the dog be removed during testimony." Jenna Collins, the lead prosecutor, stood quickly to respond. "Your Honor, Emily Carter is only 5 years old and a trauma survivor. She has been diagnosed with selective mutism because of her ordeal. Rex isn't here for show. He's a medically necessary support animal. He helps Emily take part in this trial without extreme stress." Judge Sullivan leaned back, his face unreadable. "I've already reviewed the reports from the child psychologist and the animal trainer. The dog stays. A murmur spread through the room. Some agreed, while others grumbled. Graves pressed his lips together, unhappy but unwilling to argue further. He sat back down, glancing at Hale, who showed no emotion. The trial began seriously. The prosecution described Hale's actions as manipulative, deceptive, and predatory. Over many years, witnesses spoke, including elderly neighbor Martha Jenkins. She recalled the terrifying moment she saw Hale trying to lure Emily into his van. Her voice shook as she described how he grabbed the child's arm before running when caught. Emily sat quietly the whole time, her small frame nearly lost in the big chair. Her fingers sometimes tightened around Rex's leash, but she never let go. Whenever she felt overwhelmed, she looked down at Rex, who stayed perfectly still, calming her. Then it was time for her testimony. The courtroom fell silent as Emily was gently led to the witness stand. Her mother, Sarah Carter, walked with her, protective but forcing herself to step back. Jenna Collins approached carefully, speaking softly. "Hi, Emily. I know this is scary, but you don't have to speak if you don't want to. You can nod or shake your head, and if you need a break, just let us know." Emily didn't look up, her breathing quick. But when Rex leaned against her leg, she gripped his fur and nodded. "Good," Jenna said gently. "Emily, can you tell us who was with you in your yard that day?" Emily hesitated, then slowly raised her arm and pointed straight at Richard Hale. The defendant's face stayed blank, but his jaw tightened slightly. Graves stood quickly. "Objection. The child was shown pictures of my client before trial. This isn't a reliable identification." Judge Sullivan raised a hand. Overruled. The jury will decide the witness's credibility. Jenna continued. "Emily, did this man say anything to you that day?" The child didn't speak but made a small hand motion. The same signal Rex knew. Instantly, the German shepherd's ears perked up, his body tensed, and a low growl rumbled from his chest. It wasn't aggressive, just a warning. The reaction shocked the courtroom. Even Judge Sullivan leaned forward, frowning. Graves stood again, urgent. "Your Honor, this is just drama." But Sullivan wasn't listening. He watched Rex, who was now completely focused on Hale, as if recognizing something only he could sense. It was the same reaction as before. A thought struck Sullivan. He turned to Jenna. "Miss Collins, has this dog ever met the defendant before?" Jenna paused. "Not that I know of, Your Honor." Sullivan looked at the defense table. "Mr. Hale, have you ever encountered this dog?" For the first time, Hale showed real emotion, his hands clenched. He stayed silent. Then, Jenna's eyes widened as she realized something. She whispered to her team, and a prosecutor rushed out. "What's happening?" Graves demanded, losing patience. Jenna stood straight. "Your Honor, I request a short recess. There may be new evidence." Judge Sullivan studied her, then nodded. 15-minute recess. As the courtroom emptied, whispers spread. Had Rex just recognized Richard Hale, and if so, where from? Judge Sullivan sensed the answer would change everything. The case weighed heavily on the prosecution. Hale was now linked to multiple disappearances, but without Emily's full testimony, the trial was uncertain. Yet, no one expected the key to solving the case wouldn't come from the child, but from the German Shepherd. The morning was cool as the prosecution team, led by Jenna Collins, presented their next move. They wanted to share new forensic proof. Soil samples from Richard Hale's van had been tested, and the results pointed to a specific place, a lonely, empty cabin deep in the northern woods. Detective Jack Monroe, who had worked on similar cases for years, knew what this meant. "Your Honor," Collins said to Judge Sullivan, "we ask for a 24-hour break to follow a key lead. We believe this proof could be the final piece to solve this case." Michael Graves, Hale's defense lawyer, quickly disagreed. "Your Honor, this is just a trick to delay. My client has already faced long questioning. There's no solid proof connecting him to this cabin. Soil samples aren't strong evidence." Judge Sullivan's sharp look silenced Graves. "Request approved," he said. "The prosecution has 24 hours. Court is closed for now." As soon as the judge's gavel hit, Monroe and his team moved fast. Rex, Emily's loyal guard, joined them. His reaction to Hale had been clear. Maybe he could sense things humans couldn't. By early afternoon, the search team reached the lonely cabin. The place was quiet, almost ghostly. Wind rustled the trees, and dust covered the porch, but faint footprints near the back door showed someone had been there recently. Rex reacted first. As they neared the cabin, his ears shot up, his nose sniffing the air. His body stiffened, his tail straight. A low growl rumbled from his throat as he paced near the entrance. "This place feels wrong," Monroe muttered. "Rex knows something's here." The team moved carefully, weapons ready. Inside, the cabin was bare, just a table, a cot, and empty food cans piled in a corner. Then, Monroe noticed something odd. The wooden floor near the back wall had a strange line, like a hidden door. He knocked. It sounded hollow. "There's something under here," he said. The officers quickly pried up the boards. What they found sent chills down their spines. A narrow staircase led down to a hidden basement. The air was cold and damp as they climbed down. In the dim light, they saw a terrible sight: children's toys, small shoes, a faded pink backpack, and in the far corner, chained but alive, was a girl, Emma Sullivan. The 8-year-old had been missing for 6 months. Her face was pale, her clothes torn. But when she saw the officers, her eyes filled with tears of relief. "Help," she whispered, her voice weak from silence. Rex strained against his leash, whining as if he felt her pain. Monroe rushed forward, unlocking the chains and lifting Emma into his arms. "You're safe now," he told her. "We've got you." Emma clung to him, shaking. The search was over, but the nightmare wasn't. Back in court, news of Emma's rescue spread fast. The room was full as Collins prepared her final attack against Hale. The judge allowed Emma's discovery and the soil samples to be used as proof. "Mr. Hale," Collins said, her voice sharp as a knife, "how do you explain an abducted child locked in a basement on land tied to you?" For the first time, Richard Hale looked scared. I don't know what you're talking about," he stammered. Collins didn't back down. "Your DNA was on the chains. Your van's tires matched the tracks outside the cabin. And most importantly, Emma Sullivan is alive, which means she can testify against you." The courtroom fell silent. A living witness could destroy Hale's defense. His calm mask started to crack. His lawyer whispered angrily, but it was clear Hale was trapped. Then it happened again. Rex, lying by Emily's feet, suddenly lifted his head. His fur rose, and a deep growl shook his chest. The room froze as the dog stepped forward, eyes locked on Hale. It was a look of recognition. Hale flinched. Everyone saw it. The man who had stayed smug through the trial was now sweating, gripping the table. He turned to his lawyer, muttering fast. Then, in a shaky whisper, he said, "I want to change my plea." Gasps filled the room. Judge Sullivan's eyes darkened. "Mr. Hale, are you saying you wish to plead guilty?" The room held its breath. Hale exhaled, trembling. "Yes." The trial ended suddenly, shocking the nation. Richard Hale was sentenced to life in prison with no chance of release. His guilt was sealed. He was a man who had terrified families for years. But the real heroes weren't just the lawyers or detectives. They were a brave 5-year-old girl and a dog who never left her side. Days after the trial, Emily spoke her first words in weeks. Holding Rex's face in her small hands, she whispered, "Thank you." Her parents cried, knowing their daughter was finally healing. And as Rex wagged his tail, nuzzling her gently, one thing was clear. Some bonds can't be broken. No matter how dark the world gets, there will always be those who stand against the shadows, even if they walk on 4 legs. Tell us what you think in the comments below. Did Emily and Rex's bond surprise you? Don't forget to like and subscribe to Black Struggles for more incredible stories. This voiceover script follows the instructions by maintaining the original text, formatting it for voiceover with proper punctuation, removing unnecessary spaces, adding hooks in the first part to engage the audience, and incorporating the channel name Black Struggles at the end. The script avoids adding any extra content and omits the specified unnecessary phrases.